not long after breaking up with the heir of the Stewart family. He texted me, "Where are you?" I casually replied, "At home, healing my broken heart." Just then, a Bentley slowly pulled up and came to a smooth stop in the adjacent lane. The car window rolled down. The recently broken-up young master expressionlessly looked at me. I slowly turned my head away and reached up to turn off my best friend's blaring cheesy love song. Watching the numbers flicker on the red light, I swear, these were the longest 30 seconds of my life. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. My ex-boyfriend's name is Timothy Stewart. In high school, over half the girls in our school had a crush on him. A small number were brave enough for love and chose to confess their feelings to him. Without exception, they all failed. At that time, I had just transferred to the best high school in the province, JY High School. I fell in love with him at first sight. Seeing so many love rivals, I couldn't sit still any longer. Summarizing the failures of my predecessors, I realized that gentle approaches wouldn't work. I needed to be tough. Of course, I couldn't actually be tough, but my brother can. So one afternoon, my brother stopped him at the stairwell. "Timothy, today you have two choices. Either become her boyfriend or end up in the hospital." Timothy followed my brother's gaze and saw me. I waved at him with a bright smile. He frowned and turned to look at my brother. "You can still leave now if you want." That day Timothy didn't agree to be my boyfriend, nor did he end up in the hospital. I sat by my brother's hospital bed, carefully wiping the wound at the corner of his mouth with a cotton swab while gently trying to persuade him. "I know you like Penny. You transferred to this school for her. Penny likes Timothy. And you know that too. Help me get him. Penny will only give up completely then. So we're on the same side. Me pursuing Timothy is also for your happiness." Hearing this, my brother extended his right hand toward me, his trembling middle finger threatening to rise. I quickly pressed it down and kindly reminded him, "Bro, the doctor said you shouldn't move your arm recklessly with a fracture." That night, I lay in bed with my eyes closed, deep in thought. Since the tough approach didn't work, the only option left was to throw money at the problem. Our family is nouveau riche. My parents might not be good at much, but they're excellent at making money. So one day after school, I sidled up to Timothy. "I get 10,000 a month in allowance. I'll give you 8,000. Think about being my man." When he didn't respond, I gritted my teeth and said, 9,000. That's my final offer." He expressionlessly slung his backpack over his shoulder and walked past me out of the classroom. I caught up to him. "I'll give you all 10,000. All of it. Happy now?" His legs were long, and he descended the stairs quickly. I jogged all the way to the school gate, watching as he got into a stretched Bentley. As the driver closed the rear door, I noticed a kind-looking old man still sitting inside. I hadn't seen that old man before, yet there was an inexplicable sense of familiarity about him. Later, passing by the display window in the library corridor, I confirmed the source of that familiarity. The window featured an exclusive interview with the school trustee, complete with his photograph. That kind-hearted old man is the chairman of our school's board of directors, and Timothy is his own grandson. Years later, when I think back on this matter, I can't help but sigh. No matter when. Background checks are truly important. In my senior year of high school, I transferred to Timothy's class. Using not entirely honorable means, I secured the seat next to him for the women's 3,000-meter event at the autumn sports meet. No girls in our class had signed up, so I told the sports committee member, "I'll sign up." Timothy looked at me with emotionless eyes. "Don't push yourself. If I win first place, will you be my boyfriend?" He threw the workbook in front of me. "Can't you think about anything else?" On the day of the autumn sports meet, I got my period and had a dull stomachache. During the competition, I suddenly felt nauseous, and then everything started spinning. In a daze, I heard a male voice calling my name from behind. I turned around and saw a figure running towards me. The playground instantly erupted with noise. filled with cheers and commotion. It seems like Timothy is calling me. Then I dismissed this. Seems like. It must be my imagination. It couldn't be him. He told me this morning he wouldn't come to watch my match. When I opened my eyes again, I was already lying on the sickbed in the infirmary. My brother sat beside me and handed me the thermos as soon as he saw I was awake. If you can't run, then don't push yourself. Don't you always suffer terribly during your period? I took the cup and had a sip. It was actually brown sugar ginger water, with red dates added. And even the temperature was just right. I never thought my brother could be so considerate. This is the first time he's looked so pleasing to my eyes. I won't say those girls who like him are blind anymore. In my previous class, my grades were always average. Now that I've transferred to the best class in the grade, my ranking has dropped straight to the bottom. When the monthly exam results came out, Timothy casually snatched my test paper away. He flipped through them one by one, his expression growing darker with each page. Guiltily, I tried to pull the test papers back, but he pressed them down firmly. A trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes. Want to attend the same school as me? I froze. How did you know? He took the physics book out of the drawer. You took my textbook yesterday. This one is yours. As he spoke, he began flipping through the book. I suddenly remembered that on page 42 of this book, there were words I had written while daydreaming in class. I must get into the same school as my future husband. I snatched the book away in a hurry, quickly closed it, and then grinned at him twice. His grades weren't something I could catch up to no matter how hard I tried. Those at the top of the pyramid all have the buff of natural talent. After that, until graduation, I never had the nerve to flip back to that page again. When the college entrance exam results came out, the class organized a dinner gathering. That's when I realized Timothy had already received offers from 2 Ivy League schools. The classmates were going wild downstairs, while I was the only one sitting on the terrace stairs, leaning against the railing and drinking. Don't drink too much, Timothy said as he sat down beside me. I looked at him. Timothy, you can tell how hard I worked in my senior year, right? He nodded. I tried hard to control my emotions, but a tear still slipped from the corner of my eye, and the corner of my mouth trembled slightly along with it. You also know why I worked so hard, don't you? He nodded again and reached out to wipe away my tear. I raised my hand and knocked it away directly. At that moment, all the grievances in my heart poured out, fueled by alcohol. I burst into tears in front of him. Why didn't you tell me? You never even considered universities in our country. I cried so hard I could barely catch my breath, my words coming out in broken sobs. I know, no matter how hard I try, I can never catch up to you. I know you. You don't like me. He interrupted me. Who said that? His voice was gentle, like leaves trembling in the evening breeze. I froze, my mouth hanging open, forgetting to close it. Tears slid to the corner of my lips, and I instinctively licked them. At that moment, with his back to the moonlight, he illuminated the sea of my heart. Seeing my silence, his tone softened a little. Who said I don't like you? With that, he reached out and pulled me into his arms, enveloping me completely. For the first time, I could so clearly catch the woody scent on him, mingled with the warmth of sunlight. He leaned down close to my ear. Why didn't you look at page 42 of the physics textbook? My dazed mind suddenly cleared a bit. Did you write something there? He chuckled softly. Yeah. I burst into tears. Because on the day the college entrance exams ended, I sold all my books in a bundle. Later I asked Timothy many times what exactly he had written on that page. Every time this came up, his expression became extremely awkward. No matter how much I pestered or cajoled him, he wouldn't reveal a single word. Back then, both of us siblings were complete romantics at heart. This is closely related to our family upbringing. Fortunately, Timothy studied abroad, and I gradually regained my clarity during that time. Meanwhile, my brother went further down the path of being love-struck. Timothy and I have been together for 6 years. and we've been in an on and off long-distance relationship for those 6 years. At first, my friends weren't optimistic and said we wouldn't last 3 months. Who would have thought we survived 6 years of long distance? Only to break up in the 3rd month after he returned home from completing his studies. Nellie said a new trendy restaurant opened in the western suburbs, and the owner is her friend. Today she insisted on dragging me along to show some support for her friend's place. Timothy isn't perfect at everything either. For example, at this point, Nellie paused for a few seconds, seemingly realizing she couldn't continue that line of thought. So she abruptly changed the subject. Moira, when it comes to matters of the heart, only the weak stay down after a fall, the strong always find their next partner. Just then, Timothy sent me a message. Where are you? I casually replied, healing a broken heart at home. Just then, a Bentley slowly pulled up and came to a smooth stop in the adjacent lane. The car window rolled down, and from the driver's seat, Timothy looked at me expressionlessly. I slowly turned my head away and reached out to turn off the blaring cheesy love song. Turn left in a bit. Nellie didn't even think before refusing outright. Turning left would take us out of the way. And it's rush hour now. Without glancing sideways, I watched the blinking numbers on the red light. Listen to me. Turn left. Nellie grumbled a bit, though she had no idea what madness had come over me. She still complied as soon as the left turn signal lit up. I watched the Bentley grow smaller in the rearview mirror and quietly let out a sigh of relief. In the eyes of outsiders, Timothy appears as elegant as jade, the very image of a cold and noble young master. That, in truth, is more like his disguise. Among the peers of the Stewart family in City H, whether male or female, each stands out as exceptional when singled out. And for Timothy to have consistently secured his position as the heir of the Stewart family, how could he possibly be nothing more than gentle, kind, respectful, and modest at his core? Upon arriving at the location, Nellie and I went straight up to the rooftop on the 2nd floor. Nellie handed me a glass of fruit wine. There's a question I've been meaning to ask you. I took a sip. No need to ask. I was the one who initiated the breakup. The reason was that after eating stinky noodle soup, I tried to kiss him, and he refused. She froze for 2 seconds, then pressed further. That's it. Just because he couldn't stand the stinky noodle soup. I frowned. Is he looking down on stinky noodles? He's looking down on me. Nellie was clearly unable to accept this reason. My 6-year relationship with Timothy actually ended over a bowl of stinky noodles. Anyone would find it hard to accept, including myself. To be honest, Timothy was practically the perfect boyfriend. This reason was just an excuse I managed to grab onto. I still remember that day when I said the word break up. He stood silently with his back to me by the floor-to-ceiling window for a full 2 hours. But now I can't possibly tell Nellie that the real reason for the breakup is the high-level green tea bitch around Timothy. Can I? The high-level green tea bitch isn't even the main point. Timothy has never been short of any kind of tea around him. The problem is, this green tea bitch. He's a guy. I saw Timothy's green tea boy leave his watch at home, and he even wore Ethan's shirt. Whenever we went on dates, the green tea boy always found excuses to send Timothy away. Last month, I sneaked into Timothy's house with a bottle of red wine, ready to finally make a move on the cabbage I'd been nurturing for so long. When I arrived, he was showering, while the green tea boy lay sprawled on his bed wrapped in a towel, fast asleep. Timothy looked extremely uncomfortable when he saw me after showering. He considerately covered the male green tea with a blanket and pushed me out of the bedroom. From beginning to end, he didn't offer me a single word of explanation. Based on the above, I reasonably suspect Timothy has turned gay. At this moment, the girls downstairs suddenly started getting restless, following their gaze. I looked. Timothy. Why is he here? And he even brought the male green tea with him. The male green tea is called Ethan. At this moment, he and Timothy were sitting on the circular sofa near the pool downstairs, instantly becoming the center of attention. It was clear that Ethan was in a good mood, with his 2 rows of white teeth exposed to the air from the moment he entered. When girls invited him to take photos together, he never refused and was extremely cooperative. He must have known about my breakup with Timothy and came here deliberately to provoke me. Timothy sat silently in the corner of the sofa, exuding an air of, "Keep your distance." Ethan looked up and saw me, waving with a smile. "What a coincidence. Come join us." Nellie perked up instantly at the sight of a handsome guy extending an invitation. Such a good-looking man. How come you've never mentioned him before? I swallowed the words on the tip of my tongue. How to bring it up? Should I say he's my love rival? Nellie dragged me downstairs all the way. Ethan kindly made room for me beside him when he saw us coming. Nellie got even more excited when she heard we were playing a game, quickly giving me a look to help her out. I gave her a 0 hand gesture. She secretly responded with an "Okay." Back to me. As expected, having a handsome guy around affects her intelligence. "Count me in." Timothy, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke up, then stood and walked out from the corner, taking a seat directly across from me. With his arrival, the attention at the table instantly skyrocketed. A girl suggested, "Let's play something more exciting. Everyone here is single, right?" I nodded. Ethan smirked with a hint of mischief, leaning in close to my ear and lowering his voice to ask, "Did you two break up?" I frowned and retorted, "You didn't know." He grinned like a child who'd stolen candy, sweet to the point of being sticky. "He didn't tell me." The undercurrent between Ethan and me was noticed by Timothy. His expression was terrible, surrounded by an aura of low pressure. The girls who wanted to approach him were restless, but none dared to step forward. In the first round of the game, I was paired with Ethan. I pretended to be the weak link, deliberately not competing during the speed rounds. And in the end, we successfully ended up at the bottom. Ethan could tell I was doing it on purpose, but he wasn't annoyed at all and even completed my share of the punishment. Timothy was, as always, incredibly fast. When the scores were tallied, his team was far ahead in first place. This left the girls in his group feeling disappointed, as they had no opportunity to interact with him. After several rounds, Timothy's expression grew increasingly dark. He must have noticed I was messing with Ethan and felt sorry for him. I grabbed Ethan's arm, leaned close to his ear, and asked the question lingering in my heart, "Are you a bottom?" Perhaps it was the alcohol. Ethan reacted a beat slower. "What?" I repeated myself. Ethan leaned in with a mischievous grin. "Do I look like one?" I silently shook my head. If he wasn't a 0, then I couldn't help but look at the Timothy across from me, hardly able to imagine he was the one being pinned down. The cabbage I'd been eyeing for 6 years was just Ethan's for the taking. My heart felt like it was being cut by a dull knife, the pain raw and relentless. The game continued, and in my daze, I accidentally stepped on a mine. Holding the Emperor card, Timothy looked at me and asked his question, "Is there someone you care about in your heart?" I took a deep breath and answered solemnly, "No." "Do I?" He lowered his head, his right index finger lightly tapping the table. This was a small mannerism that only appeared when he was struggling to control his emotions. A few minutes later, his complexion returned to normal as he elegantly picked up the small cake in front of him and popped it into his mouth with a smooth motion. He clearly doesn't like sweets. So why the sudden change in taste today? Curious. I also picked up a small cake and took a bite. Suddenly, my breath caught. Before my brain could react, my leg had already swung onto the table. My hand went straight to his mouth. "Timothy." "Spit it out." "Timothy." My voice rose an octave. I was so desperate to pry his mouth open. "Don't joke about this. Timothy is severely allergic to mangoes." Once I kissed him on the mouth after eating mango, which caused him to break out in hives all over his body. When the doctor said severe allergies could potentially lead to anaphylactic shock, I held Timothy and cried uncontrollably. Now, the cake layer in his mouth contained diced mango. Ignoring the strange looks from those around me, my firm voice trembled. "Timothy." Spit it out right now. Timothy looked at me with an unyielding gaze. Stubborn and defiant. After 6 years together. How could I not know that he always treats himself the harshest? I tilted my head back, forcing the bitterness back into my eyes. Timothy, I'm begging you. The forced nonchalance of these past months turned to ashes in this moment. But what have I done wrong? Timothy, you've really outdone yourself. I shouted at him. Clearly, the words reached my lips, but I suddenly clenched them tight, forcing myself to swallow what I was about to say. If I exposed his secret in public, the media would surely sensationalize the matter, twisting public opinion with baseless connections. Tomorrow Stewart family's corporate stock will take a massive hit. All Stewart family's upstream and downstream industries are inescapable, including ours. Damn it. Frustrating. I couldn't help but curse under my breath, never having felt so humiliated in all my life. At this thought, my tears finally couldn't be held back and uncontrollably slipped down. Timothy's gaze softened as he looked at me. I don't have any mango here. You still care about me, don't you? His eyes were filled with nothing but tenderness as he looked at me, reaching out to wipe away my tears. I turned my head away, avoiding his hand. Can't we just break up with dignity? I've learned to eat river snail rice noodles. He said it softly, yet earnestly. My numb and aching heart throbbed faintly once more. The surroundings were eerily quiet, as if time had stood still, with everyone frozen in place. I wiped my tears haphazardly, took a deep breath, and stepped off the table by way of the sofa. I pulled out a small pillbox from my bag, shook out a loratadine tablet, and handed it to Timothy. Take it. Although there were no mangoes in his area, I was still worried about potential contact with them. This time, he cooperated quite well, taking the pill and swallowing it with water. Ethan leaned closer to me, his deliberately casual tone trying to mask his emotional turmoil. You're such a rare kind of good ex. Still carrying medicine prepared for him even after breaking up. Go ahead without me. I need to use the restroom. I stood up and left under everyone's gaze. Entering the restroom, I took out a tissue to dry my tear-streaked face, then carefully reapplied my makeup with a compact. Staring at my reflection, my makeup was restored to its usual flawless state, yet somehow it no longer looked like me. After calming my emotions, I texted Nellie as I left the restroom, telling her I'd be leaving first. After sending it, I looked up and saw Timothy standing in front of me. I spoke calmly. Timothy, don't do this again in the future. He knew better than anyone how dangerous it was for the heir of the Stewart family to expose his vulnerabilities in public. Moira, why did you really break up with me? At this moment, Ethan walked over. His silhouette was backlit, making his expression indiscernible as he stood firmly behind Timothy. A sense of helplessness welled up from the depths of my heart. Suddenly, I felt that all explanations and resentments had lost their meaning. Looking at Timothy again, I spoke calmly. Timothy, let's not see each other anymore. He reached out to grab me, but I coldly took 2 steps back to avoid him. Clearly, he hadn't anticipated such a reaction from me. His hand froze mid-air, fingers slowly clenching. In the end, he still made way for me. On the way home, memories of my time with Timothy kept uncontrollably surfacing in my mind. It was then that I suddenly realized this wasn't Timothy's first time being willful in front of me. It seems he only unconsciously reveals this other side of himself when we're alone together. Once while scrolling through short videos, I saw someone making bear-shaped cookies for their boyfriend. I handed him my phone and said, "I'll make these for you tonight." He was listening to the group's quarterly earnings report, glanced at his phone, and then refocused on his work. Seeing that he didn't respond, I put the matter out of my mind. Unexpectedly, he went to the kitchen that night and then sat alone on the balcony sulking, not even allowing a hug. Another time, I pinched his cheek while he was sleeping. He frowned slightly, his voice soft. "Be good. Let me sleep for a while." Then he raised his hand to pull me into his embrace, nuzzling against my hair. My mind wandered back to how he looked when asleep. adorably handsome, with fair and delicate skin. The driver glanced at me, seemingly sensing my low spirits. He tried to comfort me. "Don't be sad. Anything can turn around as long as you put in the effort." My lips trembled. Some things don't change no matter how hard you try. The more I thought about it, the more aggrieved I felt, my heart twisting in pain. I couldn't help but burst into tears in front of the driver. "Tell me, how could he turn out to be gay?" "Nellie, I have this friend whose boyfriend turned out to be gay. Can he be turned straight again?" Nellie was adamant on the other end of the line. "Break up with him." No hesitation. I interrupted her, turned over, and continued asking, "When breaking up, should we make it clear? These things are understood without being spoken. Why bother saying it out loud?" Nellie sighed. "When breaking up, the man will always try to keep the woman, putting on an act of deep affection. The woman will hesitate, unable to make up her mind to end it. In the end, the man plays both sides, and the woman is completely heartbroken, suffering and distressed. Quick, tell me, which unlucky soul got caught up in this? Do I know them?" I hung up the phone and pulled the blanket over my head. The next day, as soon as I entered the office, I saw a few female colleagues gathered at the front desk, chatting excitedly. Curious, I walked over and asked, "What are you guys talking about?" Fiona at the front desk grabbed me and said, "A tall, handsome guy just went into the meeting room." I heard. Moira, the general manager, stepped out of the meeting room and waved at me. I quickly walked up to him. "Mr. Ford." Mr. Ford nodded, then pushed open the meeting room door, signaling for me to follow him inside. Moira is a key member of our company's business team, efficient and reliable in her work. "Mr. Ethan, you can rest assured." As he spoke, President Ford pulled me forward. "Moira, this is Mr. Ethan from YS Group. You'll be handling all future collaborations with him." I nodded, but my smile froze the moment I looked at the person before me. "Ethan, how could he be here?" "Moira, Mr. Ethan is visiting our company for the first time. Show him around." I quickly put on a professional smile. "Mr. Ethan, this way please." Along the way, everyone's gaze was glued to Ethan, with occasional hushed discussions breaking out. He browsed casually, while I followed behind, occasionally exchanging a few words with him. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Nellie. "After you left last night, Timothy completely changed his aura." Shivering. "JPG. I quickly replied. "What?" The response came instantly. "He told everyone present not to spread what happened last night." He was smiling when he said it, but the pressure he exuded made everyone hold their breath. Those who secretly took photos and videos all deleted them in front of him. As I walked while checking my phone, I accidentally bumped into someone's back. Looking up, Ethan had stopped. Following his gaze, I saw my workstation. He stood by my workstation, showing interest in the figurines on my desk, examining one and then reaching out to squeeze another. Then he pointed at my shelf. "Do you like this series?" I replied absent-mindedly. "Yeah, but I'm missing one. No matter how many blind boxes I buy, I just can't pull it." He didn't respond. Noticing colleagues looking our way, he smiled and greeted everyone. As I saw him off to the door, just as he was about to get into the car, he suddenly turned to look at me. "Did you and Timothy really break up?" I rolled my eyes inwardly. This guy definitely didn't come just for a casual visit. He's just afraid I still have feelings for Timothy. Afraid that we might rekindle our old flame and remain entangled. I nodded. "Don't worry. We've really broken up." Ethan waved at me, then opened the car door, started the engine, and drove off. I turned and walked toward the elevator. Wait. Why did he look at me like that just now? Like a feather gently lifted by the breeze. It was tender beyond words. Ding. The elevator arrived. I shook my head, forcibly dismissing the doubts in my heart. It must have been a trick of my eyes. Back in the office, my colleagues gathered around me. Moira, is there something going on between you and Mr. Ethan? Since when does the client personally come to discuss a collaboration? Exactly. Especially when it's the big boss. Clearly here for you. I let out a stiff heh, unsure how to explain our relationship. So I simply kept quiet and opened my laptop to start drafting the proposal. Moira, the afternoon tea you ordered for everyone has arrived. Fiona clung to our department's doorframe. Come to the front desk to sign for it. Quick. At the mention of afternoon tea, everyone rushed out, followed by bursts of screams from outside. Isn't this the cake shop downstairs that I've been dreaming about? I couldn't bring myself to order before. It's so expensive. Looks like Moira is about to land a big deal and celebrating in advance. When did I ever order a cake? And from that upscale boutique downstairs, no less. It must have been delivered to the wrong person. 6 months ago. To thoroughly understand this industry, I simply joined this company directly. At the company, I've always been diligent and hardworking, always stepping up whenever there's work to be done. Everyone thought I came from a difficult family background and often looked out for me. I walked to the front desk and glanced at the order. The information left was indeed mine. At this moment, the phone received a few unfamiliar text messages. Has the cake arrived? Passed by your company building and saw this place. Quite a few people posted about it on social media. Not sure what flavor you like. So I ordered a variety. Share them with your colleagues. I hesitated as I typed. Are you, Ethan? The reply came instantly. I've requested to join your friend's circle. Care to approve? I switched to chatting app and sure enough, there was a friend verification request waiting. The moment I accepted, he immediately messaged, let me treat you to dinner tonight to discuss future collaboration. Are you still treating me to dinner? Is this your guilty conscience after stealing my boyfriend? Seeing that I didn't reply, he sent another message. I can come find you tomorrow instead. If just showing him around today caused such a commotion, imagine the chaos if he comes specifically to see me tomorrow. I glanced at the time and replied, 6 p.m. Location is up to you. I've been very interested in YS, but never had the chance to get involved with this company's business sectors. Now that the opportunity has come knocking, there's no reason for me to refuse. Although I don't really want to see Ethan. Making money takes priority. There were 5 minutes left until the end of the workday. Ethan sent me a message saying he had already arrived at the company's underground parking lot. Seeing me get in the car, he directly navigated to a very famous private kitchen restaurant. We got straight to the point along the way, discussing the specific details of the contract directly. Ethan appears to act casually and without method on the surface, but in reality, his business intuition is extremely sharp. I had to muster all my focus to handle the various questions he raised. By the time we finished dinner and he was driving me home, the contract had been largely agreed upon. Before getting out of the car, I tentatively asked, Mr. Ethan, shall we sign the contract tomorrow? Good. He looked at me with a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Miss, you really are efficient and thorough in your work. How straightforward. I hopped out of the car and waved at him. See you tomorrow. Ethan's car disappeared around the corner, and I turned to walk into the lobby. Just as I pressed the elevator button, someone grabbed my arm. I turned to see Timothy. I was surprised. What are you doing here? Is it because of him? Timothy stared straight at me, his eyes filled with emotions I couldn't decipher. I caught sight of 2 familiar figures approaching from the corner of my eye. I abruptly took 2 steps back against the wall, grabbed Timothy's wrist with my other hand, and pulled him close. Then I wrapped my arm around Timothy's waist and pressed myself against him. He looked puzzled, and I raised my eyes to signal him not to speak. Mom, I could have brought it over. You didn't have to come all this way yourself. It's my brother Sean. You can tell from his tone that he was forced to come. My mother spoke as softly as ever. Haven't seen her in half a month. Just came to check on her. Timothy raised his arm to wrap around my shoulder. pulling me tightly into his embrace. He lowered his head and slowly leaned closer, his breath warm against my neck. My heart raced, and my hands involuntarily clenched his shirt, inevitably brushing against his lean, firm waist. After that high school fight, my brother couldn't stand Timothy to save his life. Even now, I can't mention the name Timothy in front of him, which is why my relationship has remained hidden for these 6 years. The elevator arrived, and they stepped in. Seeing how absorbed Timothy and I were in each other, they probably decided not to interrupt. Hearing the elevator's ascending chime, I let out a deep breath. That was close. Releasing Timothy. They're gone. Timothy still held me in his embrace. Looking up, I reminded him again, "You can let go of me now." His gaze was tender yet restrained. When he noticed me looking up at him, his eyelashes fluttered slightly as he lowered his eyes to avoid my stare. His arm showed no sign of loosening, still holding me tightly in his embrace. I could feel his strong heartbeat. The atmosphere grew increasingly ambiguous. This man before me, whom I've loved wholeheartedly for 6 years. To say I wasn't intoxicated by his scent would be a lie. Seeing that I didn't seem to resist his embrace, he raised my face with his hand, his gaze fixed on my lips. My heart skipped a beat, and I couldn't help but wrap my arms around his waist again, closing my eyes nervously. His breath brushed against my face, gentle yet with a hint of caution. Ding! The elevator arrived again, and a few people stepped out chatting and laughing. I suddenly opened my eyes, snapping out of the ambiguous atmosphere, pushing him away. I rushed into the elevator, quickly pressing the floor button, not daring to look at him any longer. As the elevator doors closed, watching the flickering numbers, my heartbeat refused to calm down for a long time. That was close. Just a little more and I would have been completely lost. I sent the first draft of the contract to legal first thing in the morning, and in the afternoon, I went straight to YS Group's headquarters with the revised contract. Even Ethan was amazed by my speed. Considering a job change, "You're always welcome at our company if you want to come." I rolled my eyes. "What's so great about being your subordinate?" He raised an eyebrow playfully. "You could be something else too." As he spoke, he pulled a figurine from his pocket and handed it to me. "The one you were missing. Here's the replacement." After I took it, he turned and pushed open the conference room door, gesturing for me to enter. YS's legal team nodded at me, and I handed over the contract. "Our legal team communicated with yours this morning." At that moment, the conference room door opened again. Timothy walked in with his assistant. Why is he at YS? Why aren't YS's people surprised to see him at all? Timothy, he's so casual. Clearly a regular here. Could it mean his relationship with Ethan is already public within YS? My chest suddenly tightened. Perhaps they had already cuckolded me before I even brought up the breakup. Timothy crooked his finger at YS's legal team, and YS's legal representative respectfully handed over the contract. Timothy scrutinized it carefully, verifying each clause with his assistant beside him. I gritted my teeth in secret, unable to suppress the fury in my heart. So afraid I'd trick her man. How truly thoughtful. If looks could kill, Timothy and Ethan would have been sliced into noodles by now. Kill. Kill. Slice them to death. It can be signed. Timothy finished reading the contract, casually tossed it back to the legal team, then leaned back in his chair with closed eyes, his weary expression unrelieved, not saying a word. After signing the contract and leaving the meeting room, Ethan suddenly had an impromptu meeting. He hung up the phone and looked at me, a smile in his eyes. "You go wait for me in my office first." After saying this, Timothy was given a meaningful look. I stood between the two of them, watching their flirtatious glances. Could it be that I'm also part of their play? This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm heading back first. After saying that, I turned and walked away. Ethan's voice sounded behind me. "I'll have my assistant take you back." Without turning my head, I casually waved my hand twice. I drove here. After taking the elevator down, I headed towards the parking lot. Just as I was about to get in the car, footsteps approached from behind, sounding closer and closer to me. I turned around and saw it was Timothy. "How did you get down here?" Timothy walked up to me, his voice as gentle as jade. "I found that rice noodle shop you mentioned." My heart suddenly tightened. In high school, my favorite rice noodle shop was the one next to the school, but it suddenly moved away during my junior year of college. I casually mentioned it on the phone, never expecting Timothy to remember. Noticing my silence, he tentatively asked, "Do you want to go together?" The word, "yes," got stuck on the tip of my tongue before I forcefully swallowed it back. His phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen and said, "I need to take this call." I nodded, then walked over to lean against a nearby pillar while waiting for him. Tall and straight-backed, his silhouette was bathed in orange light, his profile absolutely lethal. My heart pounded fiercely. In a daze, I was transported back to that year in high school when I met him at the stairwell. The moment our eyes met, a voice inside me whispered, "Moira, this is your future husband." "Moira," Timothy called out to me. I snapped back to reality and saw his grave expression. "What's wrong?" "I have an urgent meeting. I'll pick you up tonight." "Okay." I raised an eyebrow. "Is it Ethan again?" "Yes." I closed my eyes, suppressing the small flame that had just ignited in my heart, then turned and quickly walked to the car. As I pulled open the car door, I couldn't help but turn back and yell at Timothy. "Timothy, don't let me see you again." My brother had a crush on Penny, and to keep up with her pace, he started a business during his junior year of college. My dad expressed strong approval, saying that one should try more while young. So with a wave of his hand, he gave him 10,000 yuan as startup capital. My brother often complained to me about being broke, saying he hung flyers in parking lots late at night, frequently pulled all-nighters for orders, and survived on instant noodles for 2 months when he had no money for meals. I couldn't bear to see it. After all, since starting university, my monthly allowance was 20,000 yuan. On a sunny afternoon, I placed the 400,000 I had saved right in front of him. With tears in his eyes, my brother accepted it and immediately offered me 49% of the company's shares. I didn't stand on ceremony with him either and nodded in agreement, since I never expected him to succeed in the first place. Unexpectedly, 2 months later, he recruited a key player, and together they managed to get the company back on track. Now my brother has achieved some modest success, but compared to Penny, he still falls far short. Penny started her own business as a freshman and has been fully devoted to work in recent years, becoming a model of the new era woman. Her career reaches new heights every year, and with the completion of the final round of financing this year, the company will be ready to go public. My brother suddenly called me today and asked me to go to the company. "Just tell me over the phone if there's anything." I rolled over and continued lying down. "Unless the company goes bankrupt, don't call me back." "You're right. The company really is about to go bankrupt." "What?" I sprang up from the bed, got dressed, and rushed to the company. In the conference room, Mary briefly explained the whole situation to me. Originally, Penny's company faced a crisis, framed and maliciously reported by a rival, leading to the failure of its financing. My brother tried to bail her out, but ended up dragging his own company into the mess. "I've looked into it. Irene is in serious trouble this time." Mary took a sip of coffee. "The rival has the backing of the Ronald family's influence." My heart tightened. The Ronald family is a century-old clan with deep-rooted influence, involved in many industries. Is my brother planning to tough it out this time? I looked at Mary. "This company is the result of your and my brother's hard work. Are you just going to let him ruin it like this?" Mary looked back at me. "You're the second largest shareholder of this company. Didn't you also fail to stop him?" I sighed inwardly. Love-struck fools are truly terrifying. Mary smiled, her gaze at me carrying a hint of deeper meaning. "Your brother isn't the only one with a love-struck brain." Propping my head on my hand, I said, "Mary, Why haven't you confessed to my brother? Her smile froze instantly. Seeing her silent, I continued. Someone as sharp, capable, and highly intelligent as you could thrive in any company. Yet you choose to endure hardship with my brother. I sighed. I can't think of any other reason besides liking him. Mary smiled faintly as she lifted her coffee cup with an intellectual elegance. But I'm 4 years older than your brother. I interrupted her. 4 years. Not 40. My brother has matured a lot these past few years and tempered his temper. I know it's all because of Mary's influence. I don't like coming to the company because Mary always finds something for me to do. She was counting on me to take over the company's affairs so she could retire with her mission accomplished. I walked out of the meeting room and gently closed the door behind me. Seeing my brother standing at the door, I patted his shoulder and whispered, "Did you hear everything?" With that, I left the company, ready to go home and cry about being broke. Bankruptcy seemed inevitable, but unexpectedly, the situation took a dramatic turn just 3 days later. Penny's rival publicly apologized and compensated for all losses incurred by both companies. With the financing now successfully completed, Penny's company has officially entered the listing phase. Ronald's family has shown goodwill both openly and covertly on numerous occasions. Unable to decipher their motives, we politely declined each time. My brother said a new Cantonese restaurant opened near our house and invited me to dinner tonight. When we arrived, I found Mary was also there. I looked at my brother, my eyes asking him what was going on. My brother felt a bit uncomfortable under my gaze and glared at me. "What are you looking at? Order the food." I obediently picked up the menu to cover my face. Suddenly, I felt someone sit down beside me. I turned my head and saw Ethan. How does this guy manage to show up everywhere? Ethan seemed completely at ease, smiling at me. What a coincidence. I ignored him and continued ordering. "Mary, long time no see." I froze, lowering the menu to look at them. Ethan and Mary know each other. Mary raised her glass, a faint smile curling at the corners of her lips. "Long time no see." Then she tilted her head and introduced Ethan to my brother, who also shared a drink with him. When all the dishes were served, everyone enjoyed the meal. And before we knew it, both my brother and Ethan were getting a bit tipsy. Mary suddenly poured herself a glass. "This meal today is on me." I wiped my hands and teased her with a smile. "Mary, don't worry about saving money for my brother." She looked at my brother and said, "I'm planning to resign." Hearing about the resignation, my brother put down his chopsticks with a look of disbelief. "Why leave? The company can do well without me now." Mary clinked glasses with my brother, smiling. "I want to study abroad." My brother silently drank his wine. The air suddenly became very quiet. Ethan looked at me. "Take me back." I tilted my head and muttered under my breath, "Don't you have legs of your own?" He leaned close to my ear. "Aren't you in the way here?" Suddenly it dawned on me. I stood up and grabbed his arm, pulling him outside. He cooperated, letting me drag him out of the shop, then fished out his car keys from his pocket and tossed them to me. "You haven't been drinking. You drive." With that, he climbed into the passenger seat. I fastened my seatbelt. "Send me your home location." He pulls out his phone, swipes a couple times, then puts it back. "Just drop me off at Timothy's place." I start the car. "Been sleeping at his place lately." He closes his eyes, leaning back against the seat with a nod. "How come you haven't been seeing him recently?" I gave him a wide-eyed look. Still testing me. Some things are better left unsaid. After all, certain relationships can become awkward once brought into the open. Seeing he didn't respond, I snorted quietly. "I know about your relationship." He opened his eyes, his expression slightly stunned. "Perhaps I've had too much to drink." My gaze somewhat hazy. "So you knew all along?" With a bitter laugh, he looks out the window. "No point anymore." I start the car, and we remain silent the whole way. He lives in the penthouse of a high-end apartment near the landmark, requiring fingerprint and facial recognition for entry. He probably already deleted my identity information. I tried pressing my fingerprint, and after the camera recognized my face, the front door actually opened. Ethan swayed unsteadily, struggling to stay on his feet. Hesitating, I dialed the phone number I knew by heart. "Hey." Timothy's voice came through the phone, his deep, magnetic tone carrying a hint of uncertainty. I took a quiet, deep breath, trying to keep my tone as calm and natural as possible. "Come down for a bit. Someone needs picking up." After hanging up, I helped Ethan settle onto the sofa in the temporary waiting area. "Wait here. Timothy will come down to get you. I'm leaving first." After speaking, I walked out of the apartment gate and hailed a taxi. As the car started moving, a familiar figure rushed out. Then my phone rang. It was Timothy's number. I hung up, but he called again. Remembering Ethan's words, I felt a surge of irritation, pressed the power button, and threw my phone back into the bag. Mary has gone abroad. My brother visibly withered away at an alarming rate. By the time I got in touch with him, he was already in a foreign land, left with no choice. I had to resign from my previous company and take over my brother's business. Mary completely hands off. My brother occasionally gives remote guidance, leaving me struggling every day. "Bro, how far along is your love pursuit progress bar?" My brother whispered to me. "Which of these 2 bags do you think I should choose?" He then sent 2 pictures. I instantly lost my temper. "Choose my ass. Even if I pick the remaining one, he won't give it to me anyway." "You're right. No need to choose. Just buy both." My vision went dark, and I hung up the call immediately. All love-struck fools should be taken out and shot. They're all disasters. Disaster. Half a month later, Ethan suddenly asked me out. "Are you leaving?" I was a bit surprised. "Did you and Timothy have a falling out?" He nodded, half jokingly. I told him I'm going to chase after you. Pfft. I choked on my drink, coughing violently. Cough. Cough. He quickly pulled out a tissue and handed it to me, patting my back as he did so. I looked up at him, tears welling up from coughing. "Aren't you?" Cough. "Into men." His hand patting my back froze, his pupils trembling as he grabbed my collar and leaned close to my ear. "Where the hell did you get the idea that I like men?" I shrank back, gulping down my drink nervously. Seeing this, he couldn't bring himself to scold me further and closed his eyes to calm down. Once the tension eased, he crossed his arms and leaned lazily against the chair. "You should cut down on that trashy fiction." Gathering my courage, I asked him, "Then what's your relationship with Timothy?" "He's my brother." "Ha." I was a bit uncertain. "When I ran a background check on him, your name wasn't on the list. That just means your background check wasn't thorough enough." He gave me a sidelong glance. "His mom is my aunt. After my dad and mom divorced, my mom took me to the U.S. Because I changed my last name, the relationship between the 2 families became very strained, and we've had no contact since. After returning to China this time, my family didn't want me to have much contact with the Earl family, so they've kept my identity under wraps. In that case, Ethan appearing at Timothy's place seems perfectly normal." A crack opened in my gloomy heart, and I quickly covered up the awkwardness with a forced, "Ha ha ha ha." "As soon as he heard I was going after you, he turned hostile and swallowed up most of my overseas business this month." I lowered my head in silence, my mind racing on how to win Timothy back. Timothy has always been strictly business, never mixing personal feelings with work. I never expected him to go this far. I responded with a vague, oh, as my mind gradually caught up with the current topic. "Why are you chasing after me? We barely know each other." Ethan lowered his head, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "We met a long time ago. 5 years ago. You sneaked off to America without telling anyone, wanting to give Timothy a surprise." I froze. "How did you know that?" That time, the surprise turned into a shock. I had just stepped out of the airport when my wallet was stolen. You sat in the back seat, holding Timothy and crying the whole way. He looked at me. Do you remember who the driver was? It was me. Seeing my silence, he smiled. Your eyes are only for him. Never once glancing at me from start to finish. I've had many girlfriends, he said, gazing out the window, but none of them ever looked at me the way you look at Timothy. At first, I was just curious about you, but then I gradually fell for you. I kept my head down, not daring to meet his gaze, though I wouldn't give up everything for you. He picked up the wineglass in front of him and took a swig. Timothy has his own troubles to deal with, yet he still has to spare effort to help you. Ronald's family was Timothy who stepped in to settle it. You probably didn't even realize that behind you stands the Stewart family. Mary was Stewart Chairman's personally trained protege. Timothy was left to you. That guy turned out to be a hopeless romantic. With just that tiny patch of land you have, Mary probably can't even stretch her limbs properly. I looked up. Timothy, what's wrong? Is he in trouble? He glared at me. After all I've said. In the end, you're still concerned about him. I fell silent. Ethan looked extremely displeased. Go ask him yourself. I stood up. Fine. I'll go right now. Hey! He called out to stop me. I turned back. What's wrong? Forget it. It's nothing. Go ahead. After saying that, he waved at me and downed a glass of wine. I understood the emotion in his eyes. It was reluctance, but I couldn't offer any response. I stood at Timothy's doorstep. I was burning with impatience all the way, eager to see him quickly, but I hesitated when I reached the door. Hesitantly, I took out my phone to call him, but there was no answer. I placed my finger on the fingerprint scanner, and surprisingly, the door opened. I changed my shoes and walked in quietly. Timothy. No one responded. Only the motion sensor light turned on. The living room was empty. Standing where I was, I called his phone again. The ringtone came from the bedroom. I tiptoed into the bedroom. The bedroom light was in sleep mode. He seemed to be asleep. His body turned toward the floor-to-ceiling window. I propped myself up with my arms and climbed onto the bed to look at him. He remained motionless, his eyes open as he gazed out the window. So he wasn't asleep after all. I wriggled forward, lay down, and wrapped my arms around him from behind. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you earlier. As I spoke, my hand began to wander downward, tracing his waist and reaching the defined lines of his Adonis belt. He reached out and pressed down on my restless hand. I'm not angry. Then he turned and pulled me into his arms. I was just afraid you'd come to force me to break up. I've mentioned it before. I reminded him. That time doesn't count. I didn't agree. As he spoke, he kissed the top of my head. After you brought up breaking up, I reflected a lot. After 6 years together, I've spent very little time with you and done very little for you. I kept trying to convince myself that you chose someone else because I wasn't good enough. But the thought of you choosing someone else makes me so miserable. My eyes stung as a sudden phrase flashed through my mind. Only those who don't love you would think you're asking for too much. Those who truly love you feel they haven't given you enough. My lips trembled. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Timothy sounded exhausted, probably having pulled several all-nighters again. I nuzzled against him in his arms. What trouble have you run into lately? He briefly explained the situation to me. The Stewart family's newly established subsidiary this year hit a technical bottleneck. They had initially finalized a cooperation plan with a company, but at the contract signing, the other party backed out last minute, demanding that the Stewart family give up 70% of the profits for the collaboration to proceed. Can't we switch to another company? Timothy shook his head. This technology is only available from this company. What's the name of the company? Blue Jean. You all focus more on grammar, but our ancestors were all bandits. So business battles carry a bit of that outlaw spirit. The next day, I handed my brother's company over to Timothy. Timothy immediately passed it to Mary. Mary was abroad for further studies and couldn't handle it, so she kicked my brother back to it. Now my brother looks at Timothy with 100 million dislikes. A week later, I smoothly joined Blue Jean and spent half a month figuring out the ins and outs of the company. The rotten Lanine runs deep to its roots. I took a bite of rice noodles and continued. Cooperation is out of the question. Timothy picked some beans from his bowl and put them into mine. All right. No cooperation. Another half-month passed, and I called to tell Timothy, I've poached the entire tech department from Lanine. Make some space on your end. There are 23 people coming. Timothy remained silent on the other end of the line for a long time. I added, they are highly skilled and have good character. Matching their current salary would be sufficient. I was just instructing HR to expedite their onboarding process, and their salaries will be adjusted according to the appropriate standards. Okay. I immediately submitted my resignation and left Lanine on the last day of my probation period. I brought Timothy home. The whole family liked him, except for my brother. Timothy wrapped in the red scarf my mom knitted for him. Your family has a great atmosphere. My dad is a love-struck fool. He went through a lot chasing my mom those years. I held Timothy's hand as we strolled around the neighborhood. The gift you gave them today really suited their tastes. You must have put a lot of thought into it. Timothy smiled and gave my hand a squeeze. I wonder if your brother will like the one I got for him. I frowned. Don't worry about him. It's hard for him to like anything you give. My mom called to ask us to come back for dinner, so we started heading back. Just as we reached the doorstep, my brother saw Timothy and his eyes suddenly lit up, repeatedly calling out, "Brother-in-law," right in my face. I froze instantly, and seeing my brother approaching, I quickly pulled him aside. Bro, you changed your attitude way too fast. He gave me a Koenigsegg, a Kiniwa GG. I continued, didn't you say I'm never allowed to mention him in front of you for the rest of my life? But he gave me a Koenigsegg. I let go. Whatever. My brother's lost his mind. At dinner, Timothy walked me home. Passing by JY Middle School, I suddenly wanted to go in. We wandered around the playground. I pointed at a building and looked at Timothy. A new building was constructed over there. Timothy pulled me into his embrace. That building is called Huiji Tower. It suddenly dawned on me. How could I have forgotten that Timothy is the new board chairman of JY High School? I carried you to the infirmary and even went to the cafeteria to make you brown sugar water. As he spoke, he seemed to be recalling the scene at that time. I saw your brother was there, so I asked a girl to help me bring it in. I froze for a moment. It was actually him. Suddenly, I remembered there was one more thing. I grabbed Timothy's arm, looking up at him with a serious expression. Page 42 of the physics textbook. What exactly did you write? His eyes curved downward, filled with tenderness. You can remove the word future. I didn't quite understand, so I focused and asked him again. What? He reached out to tidy the bangs on my forehead, his affection rippling slightly. What I wrote was, you can remove the word future. So, I shook his arm. You confessed first. The corners of his lips curled up. If you didn't see it, it doesn't count. No, it counts. It counts. Just then, the school bell rang, and the teaching building instantly erupted with the clamor of students. In a daze, I was back in my senior year of high school again. The difference was, the figure I had been chasing all along was now standing right beside me. The end.